Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I relive past events. I am transported next to the men and women who wrote history. I move through their lives like a ghost of the future. I am a messenger of memories, a link between our time and their world. My voice will guide you through these episodes to bring back their stories as they appeared to me. A draught makes me shiver. Then, just after, a strong smell of cold ashes spreads and makes me sneeze. My eyes open. I'm standing next to an extinguished fireplace in the middle of a small library. Dust envelops the books and shelves. Two young men in their 20s stand silently on the lookout. A tall blonde man with blue eyes and clean shaven. A smaller man with brown hair, brown eyes and a finely trimmed moustache. Someone is climbing up the stairs. The two young men look at each other. They remain frozen in place. We are trapped. The door opens suddenly. The man who enters is about 40 years old. He has a black beard. His face is austere, but he smiles at them. He knows the two young men, Louis and Anthony Collard, but he is a stranger to them. He is Walter Douay, one of the leaders of the Liège secret network of the White Lady. I wish I could reassure them. They have nothing to fear in his presence. However, the two brothers hesitate, debating whether to flee or not. Since the beginning of the First World War, they have dreamed of joining the Belgian army. Unfortunately, the only way to do so was to reach the Netherlands, a neutral country whose border with Belgium was locked. However, some escape routes existed in Liège. That is why on this windy day in October 1917, Louis and Anthony went to the Cité Ardent to join a smuggler to cross the Dutch border. Walter Douay learned of their presence in the city. That's why he joined their hiding place, which was not so secret. He smiles. He has his information. That's why he's come to convince them to join the resistance. I feel the simmering tension of the moment. Louis and Anthony look at each other. There is no reason for this to be a trap, yet they can't help but have doubts. Walter knows that being a spy is less glamorous than being a soldier, but the mission he wants to give them could hopefully protect thousands of lives of Allied soldiers. So he wants to convince them to weave a network between Virton and Florenville in their province rather than join the army. These young men from Tontigny have a unique opportunity. Their work will help inform the central cell of the White Lady of the movements of the German forces. The brothers want to think about it before making a decision. Walter will return in 2 days. In the meantime, he will provide them with food and water. If they accept his offer, they will have to stay in Liège for a while. They will need to learn how to encrypt messages, learn about the German military organization, and so many other things that a spy must know. Before leaving them, Walter gives them a little paper. It is the oath they must take if they sign up. I stay a while with Louis and Anthony. I can feel their excitement and their determination. They will finally be able to serve their country. They unfold the printed paper. I read it along with them. I declare to take this commitment as a soldier to the military service of observation for the Allies until the end of the war. I swear before God to conscientiously accomplish the functions which will be entrusted to me, not to reveal to anyone anything of the organisation of the service, even if this attitude must entail, for my family or for me, the penalty of death. Later, I find Louis and Anthony crouched on a slope. It is now winter. Snow has covered the surrounding hills. Their bicycles are hidden behind a bush. They are together for the first time since their return to their native Gaume. They have each woven two independent but complementary intelligence networks in the region. They tell each other about their different acts of bravery, with the humour and exaggeration that two 20-year-old brothers share. Their thrilling stories make me forget that my fingers are freezing in the cold air. Suddenly, the brothers stop talking. In the distance, the smoke of a train moves slowly forward. It is the track between Longuillon and Sedan. Anthony has taken out his notebook. He takes notes methodically, helped by Louis. He carefully notes the number of wagons and their contents. An unusual number of German trains have been using this track for the last few days. The brothers write their report. They will then encrypt it. Then a liaison officer will transport it to a mailbox officer. Finally, the message will be retrieved by a member of the central network of the White Lady, who will deliver the information to the Allied armies. I evaporate like smoke from the locomotive into the air. When I next open my eyes, the surroundings have changed, but the two brothers still accompany me. We are now in a small gloomy room made of stone and closed by a heavy metal door. But with us, a third man is present. He has a long curly white beard and a receding hairline. He is their father, Léon Collard. We are now in the heart of Liège, trapped in the now defunct Saint-Léonard prison. Tomorrow, the two brothers will be executed. The same morning, they learned that their appeal for pardon had been rejected. However, their father, who was sentenced to death with them, and an abbot from their network were pardoned. Even though they will disappear tomorrow, Anthony and Louis have light hearts. The two boys are kneeling with their father. Then, very pious, they exchange their last blessings. They are sad to part, but proud of what they have done. They are proud to have succeeded in weaving a network of important information in only 4 weeks that their sister Marie-Thérèse will take over. Proud to have allowed the Allies to anticipate the movements of the German troops. Proud also to have resisted torture, hunger and lack of sleep, to have saved the White Lady's network and protected its agents. Tomorrow they will be dead, but many others will live. A guard knocks on the door. The old father embraces his sons before they leave his cell. The reality of it all hits him only a few seconds later. He then rushes towards the corridor. The guard, conciliatory, lets us pass. Louis and Anthony are already at the corner of the corridor, ready to turn. With a final look, the two brothers turn around and smile at us. Tomorrow they will be shot at Fort Chartreuse in Liège. I have changed place and time again, but I am not at home. Yet I am still overwhelmed by these two brothers. I can't stop thinking about their determination and their courage. I can hardly feel the same excitement as the three people with me in the small office I am in now. I recognise Walter Douay, the leader of the White Ladies Network, who had contacted Louis and Anthony. He has aged. His hair and beard have turned white. Around us are a woman and a man I don't yet know. Outside, the snow is falling hard. I see through the window the majestic church of St. James in Liège. I have passed by it so many times, it hasn't changed. We are in an apartment on the square in front of it at Simon and Spaz Place, the woman who is with us. Walter Douay, a fugitive, lives here when he stays in the burning city. Their enthusiasm is contagious and lively. I am now impatient to learn more. They are all bent over a radio set on a large wooden desk. A few days ago, Jean Lamy, the other man in the room, was parachuted into Grande and then repatriated to Liège. He is a radio operator in the Navy, and he brought with him the device we are all looking at in attention. A radio transmitter, but above all, a receiver. Since the beginning of the Second World War, Walter Douay has reactivated his old knowledge of the Liège Resistance during the Great War. He set up a new network called Clarence to help the Allies. But unfortunately, the British officer who was supposed to be his liaison with London died at sea, and there was no guarantee that London would receive the reports. But Jean Lamy's advanced radio device will bring the network into a new era. A telegram was just sent a few minutes ago, with a brief report dated today, the 29th of January 1941. Each second lasts an hour as we wait. Little by little, hope gives way to fear. What if it was all for nothing? Voltaire tenses up. Without warning, the machine starts to crackle. Our muscles tentatively begin to relax. A message finally comes through. London has answered us. The happiness is encompassing. Voltaire takes Simone and Jean in his arms. I also encircle them. They are not aware of me, but perhaps they feel my euphoria. They succeeded. But my joy is short-lived. I've moved forward in time. It is still January, but 3 years later, it is 1944. The Clarence network has become the most extensive military intelligence network in occupied Europe and communicates seamlessly with London. It was a huge success. However, Voltaire was not in the mood to celebrate yet. He walks through the streets of Ixelles at full speed, his stomach churning. I almost have to run to follow him. Many different images and people are running through his mind. I can see them too. First, he thinks of his wife, Dieudonne. 1 year ago, on this day, she died of a heart attack. She was his guardian angel who stayed at home and had always protected him from the police and the Gestapo. He also thought of his 2 daughters, Marie and Madeleine, and his son, Jacques, all 3 agents of the network. A week ago, his daughters were arrested by the police. Hidden in a closet, his son managed to escape to the Marquis. Above all, he thinks of Thérèse de Radiguez. It was to her house that he went. She had taken part in the Dame Blanche network and was one of the founding members of Clarence. She was an early resistance fighter, his friend of 30 years. Yesterday, Voltaire learned that the Gestapo had intercepted a communication and discovered her identity. He could not let the 78-year-old woman fall into German hands. Not after his wife's death. Not after the arrest of his children. When we arrive at her house, I'm out of breath. Voltaire rings the bell, and a maid opens the door. Teresa is not there. She has gone out on an errand. He decided to wait for her. We enter the magnificent residence of the Châtelaine. A few minutes later, the doorbell rings again. Without waiting, German police officers enter. Panic-stricken, I am about to run away, yet beside me, Voltaire is calm. He doesn't move, and lets himself settle in the living room. He knew this moment was coming. The Gestapo wants to know who he is. They won't find out. His identity card is fake. Monsieur Wall. Sitting on a comfortable couch, we hear the door open again. The police are on the lookout. Thérèse returns home and is immediately arrested. She is surprised to see Voltaire in her living room. The latter has risen. He looks at Thérèse. All their shared memories come back in a flood of emotions. It feels like the scene is moving in slow motion. The police officers are frozen, unable to react as Voltaire slowly walks towards her. He calls out, "Muraille!" Thérèse understands. The Germans do not know who he is. The world has speeded up again. The Gestapo officer gets angry in German. He takes Voltaire and forcefully leads him out. I run after him. Outside, Voltaire is taken to a car. Therese in his wake. My heart leaps. He has just escaped from his captor and is running down the avenue. The police officers shoot at him but do not hit him. I go after him in defiance of the bullets that pass through me. Finally, Voltaire turns at a crossroads. I can't see him anymore. I hear a bullet ring out. When I turn around, a Luftwaffe officer is facing me, his revolver in his hand, still smoking. Voltaire is lying on the ground, lifeless. I don't stay any longer and run away from this tragedy to return to my room. The Gestapo will never discover the true identity of this Monsieur Wall who was killed in Ixelles. They will never get their hands on the Clarence network. Has this story touched you? Then it's time to go to the Land of Memory territory to immerse yourself in this adventure on the very spot where it took place. The itinerary Liège, a city of resistance, can be discovered on the website landofmemory.eu. To visit the Remember Museum, Fort Aubin-Neufchâteau, Fort Ébène-Mail, Fort Barchon, Fort Tancremont and Fort Chartreuse.